The story begins with the announcement that our MCU Hansol, who is crazy in love with the gym, is trying to deadlift 10 tons, which would be the first in history. He performs the deadlift, and at the age of 17 he became the strongest living thing. But this is short-lived as he falls to the ground concerning the announcers. While blacked out, his body goes through changes granting him different abilities. But all he could think about is whether women really prefer muscular men, and getting his protein. Before waking up, giant chickens peck at him, but when he wakes up, the chickens who were pecking at him ran away, and because of the confusion his calm skill activates. Afterwards he takes a look at his surroundings. Surrounded by huge chickens, he concludes that he must have ended up in hell because of the chickens' resentment for eating too much chicken breast. The chickens start pecking him again, which annoys him, so he hits one of them, causing the others to back off. Another one of his skills Hawkeye activates, allowing him to see the protein content of the chickens. Seeing that the chickens are worth 68 kilograms of protein, he jumps at them, leaving nothing but the bones. After eating all that protein, he sits under a tree but gets concerned about his lack of size, so he makes his way to a lake, and he sees that the results of his hard work in his previous life has disappeared. After seeing his tiny body without muscles, where he was, didn't matter. All that mattered to him was getting his size back. And in order to get his huge body back, he uproots a tree to perform leg squats, asking his efforts not to betray him. After 3 months of training, his efforts have been betrayed. But even though he didn't get as big as he wanted, he is happy that he has more than enough protein. And while getting ready to continue his training, a giant monster chicken called Cockatrice appears. Running away from the monster proved to be difficult because he couldn't take his eyes off the monster's chest muscles. The system activates, notifying him that his opponent has a great amount of protein, and if he is able to consume the monster, he will obtain the rare skill Amazing Muscle Recovery. Hearing this, he decides it's worth him risking his life for those rewards. While charging up his skill, the system warns him to deactivate it, but he continues, and he surpasses his muscles limit, granting him the unique skill Changing Skeleton. Like something straight out of One Piece, his arms grew to the size of a giant's, and he uses one-armed dumbbell press, killing the chicken. Later that night while eating, the smell of the chicken cooking attracts the attention of some ghouls. They are curious as to what species was able to defeat Cockatrice, but they also came to ask for his protection since he is now the most powerful species in the territory. As the ghouls were talking, the MC couldn't stop thinking about their skinny legs. This caused him to not hear them as they were asking for his favor. They give up after he asks for an explanation for the 10th time, and even though he is unable to help them because the gym rat is busy growing his muscles, he gives them a piece of the chicken breast. The ghouls thank him and approach the piece of chicken, getting ready to pick it up. Seeing this, he gets irritated and asks them if they want to destroy their backs and if they even know what a deadlift is. From their confusion, he realizes that they have bad form because they don't lift weights. And after recalling some wise words from his trainer in middle school, he decides to accompany the ghouls to their village in the morning. The next day, he is welcomed to the village by the Ghoul Lord, and as they were talking, he couldn't stop himself from thinking about what poor physical shape the Ghoul Lord was in. The topic of skills came up, and not knowing what a skill was, he asked for an explanation, but he is looked down upon by the Ghoul Lord for not knowing what a skill is. The 3 that brought him into the village were brought to be punished. With his club and skill heavy blunt, the Ghoul Lord hits them, but this is blocked by the MC with ease. Thinking it was a fluke, Ghoul Lord gets ready to attack again. The MC thought it was a shame to kill someone with such an amazing skill, but it couldn't be helped since he was an enemy. As he hits the protagonist, his weapon breaks, and in that instant the MC closes the distance. Using one arm front raise, he grabbed the Ghoul Lord at the neck, asking for his big 3. The Ghoul Lord doesn't understand what he meant by big 3, so he explains to him that the big 3 are 3 exercises: bench press, squat, and deadlift. This began a showdown of strength. If the Ghoul Lord was to win, the MC would become his subordinate, and if the MC wins, he will become the new Lord of the Ghouls. The first exercise is the deadlift, and they had a starting weight of 200 kilograms. The Ghoul Lord was first to attempt, and using his heavy blunt skill, he cuts the weight to about a quarter of the original weight, allowing him to easily lifting it. Warming up, the MC asks the other ghouls to pay attention. As he is about to deadlift, Ghoul Lord used his skill, increasing the weight by 4 times. This didn't matter because the weight was sent into orbit. Seeing this, the ghouls need to their new lord. After obtaining the title of Ghoul Lord, the previous Ghoul Lord explained to him that he is in a new world different from his original world. But there are legends of people returning back to their worlds. He puts returning off until he obtain his size again, because if he was to return, he would be made fun of. While making their way to the training grounds, he gave the Ghoul Lord the name Ghoulord, but arriving, he gets disappointed at the state of their training grounds. He orders the ghouls to get in rows of 5, telling them that if they don't want to be the weakest, they need to have a strong body, so he will train them for 3 months so they can become warriors. The ghouls get pumped because now they won't be at the bottom of the food chain, and after getting in rows of 5 he tells them to perform 100 push-ups. 3 hours later the ghouls are struggling to continue, but the MC is having no troubles. Gillord informs him that the other ghouls can't go on anymore, to which he tells them to do 100 more than they can eat. The ghouls give up after this because it would be their 800th push-up. Hearing their complaining, he gets up and gives them one of Naruto's powerful speeches. Hearing the speech, the ghouls are motivated to continue. 3 months later, some lizard men have come to colonize the ghoul village. Getting informed by Gillord, he orders the bench press group to open their chest, breathe in, clench their butt cheeks, and finally releasing on some rocks, hitting the lizard men. The leader of the lizard men notices that his men will soon get annihilated, so he calls for a one-on-one with the leader of the ghoul lord. After recalling how he dealt with his pet crocodile, he jumps at the lizard, pinning him to the ground, and using intimidation he is able to make him surrender. In the city of Wardo-Duchy, the feudal lord orders some of his men to investigate the disappearance of Cockatrice. After getting their mission, the 3 men leave, and the lord asks his general if those men will be able to accomplish their mission. The general confirms that there is nothing to worry about because those 2 of the 3 men are geniuses. Hearing this, the lord raises the question about why the 3rd man is on the mission, but all she told him was that the other 2 are fond of him. While making their way through the forest, they encounter a pack of goblins, which they dealt with to protect their friend Blog. After the fighting, they check up on their friend. He tells them that he is fine, but in his head he is envious of the fact that they are so much stronger than him even though they started training at the same time. Back at the village, the lizard men have joined the ghouls in their training, and afterwards they say their goodbyes. The MC was surprised at the fact that the ghouls changed so much from one day of resting. As they were getting ready to prepare a meal, they asked him if they could go hunting on their own so they could test out the new muscles they had gained. He allowed this so he could have some time to work out by himself. While thinking to himself, Gillord has a thought that if all the Gouda builders team up, if they would be able to beat the MC, but he affirms his position by saying no one can beat him in a deadlift. In the end, he decided to join them on their hunt, and while hunting he makes the ghouls do lunges to check their posture, but one of the ghouls gets injured. Later that night at the camp of the 3 warriors, Blog is doing secret training by himself, wishing he had strength. His friend Laper was watching without him knowing, and when he comes out of the shadows he gives him feedback to help him improve. Hendard also moved away from the shadows, and the 2 start arguing about Blog's sleep schedule. As they were arguing, they noticed lizard men running towards them, but the lizard men were running away from chickens. The appearance of the MC has destroyed entire ecosystem. Later they watched the chickens train their chest, and after seeing the chickens work out, the ghouls attempted it but failed. Thanks to watching the chickens, the MC realizes that the ghouls have gotten used to his workout routine. He come up with a solution and tells them to gather in rows of 5. After the ghouls gathered in rows of 5, he demonstrates the cable cross exercise, which targets the chest muscles. After their workout sessions, the chickens notices their chest muscles, which excites them, causing an evolution. After the chickens' evolution, the ghouls stood no chance against them. Back at the village, Gillord wakes up complaining about the taste of the food as he makes some fried chicken. And back at the hunting grounds, the ghouls are confused as to why they are still losing to the chickens, but the MC explains that it's because they haven't been working out as long as the chickens have. But they still have a path towards victory. Realizing what he means, the ghouls tried using their leg strength, but their legs was already tired from the lunges they did, making them easy work for the chickens. And after dealing with the ghouls, the chickens turned their attention towards the MC. He used one-arm dumbbell press, and in that moment the chicken's life flashed before its eyes. Later that night, the village enjoys chicken for dinner, and in the morning while he works out, he tells the ghouls to go out hunting alone. While the ghouls were hunting, they realize that they have the strength to beat the chickens, but they don't know how to create the conditions of winning a battle. But since Hansel is letting his guard down, they can use this as an opportunity to beat him, and chickens killed. They split up into 3 teams and dispersed. We then see as the 3 warriors observe the bones of Cockatrice. Noticing that the head is missing, they conclude that it was a one-hit kill. Vlog gets worried about there being something that's able to one-hit Cockatrice, and as the other 2 were trying to comfort him, they hear sounds coming from the distance. So they take a battle stance. All the ruckus was being caused by the chickens running away from the ghouls. The ghouls stop after seeing the humans. Not wanting things to get complicated, they signal to teams 1 and 2 using their chest muscles. But seeing the giggly pecs, the chickens gets excited decided and evolved into Kokas who are said to be as strong as wyverns. The Kokas charged at the ghouls, but the leaders of Team 1 and 2 arrived, and using accessory muscle bench press, a secret technique taught to them by the MC, they were able to defeat 2 of the Kokas, but while they were distracted, a ghoul was about to be killed. Touched by their friendship, the 3 warriors protect the ghoul. The Kokas were also touched, causing them to evolve once more. We then see that in the past the first dragon was very greedy. Because of his greed, he distributed his power, and from that cockatrice was born. In the present, the warriors are trying to take down Kokas to hopefully gain recognition from their master. Back at the village, the MC is happy with his progress, but is surprised by the growth rate of the ghouls, and while recalling the harsh training the ghouls went through in the past 3 months, he is informed by one of the ghouls that the others are in danger. Hearing this, he asks to be pointed in their direction and takes a squat position. Using actual contractile muscles, he grew his leg muscles to a monstrous size, sending himself flying in the direction the ghoul pointed to. Back on the battlefield, the 2 warriors create an escape route for Blog, injuring Laper in the process. They tried to run away but are chased by the Kokas, and being backed into a corner, the Gouda builders used their last secret technique, but their technique couldn't stop the Kokas. As they were about to be killed, Gilord arrives, saving them, and the MC who was supposed to save them landed in the wrong place. Gilord gets surrounded, but he remains calm, talking a big game about his plan. This big plan was to scream out for Hansal's help. Seeing this, the other ghouls were disappointed. We see that previously, after waking up, he realizes that they had run out of food and that the Gouda builders have yet to return, so he went looking for them. 5 minutes later, he hears the screams of the Gouda builders. Seeing the giant Kokas, he picks up a rock. Thanks to his skills getting stronger by constantly being used as a weight multiplier, he was able to maintain his position, and he got stronger. He uses his skill tossing the rock and killing the Koka. In the present, the ghouls tell him that since he was able to kill one of the Kokas in one hit, he must be as strong as Hansal. Believing this, he puts his hands up in a fighting position, but like Team Rocket, he is sent blasting off again. Vlog and the Gouda builders take their final stance and attack the Kokas. Their only saving grace was that Gilord was kicked in the direction of the MC, landing in front of him, so he asks him to save them. Seeing this, he gets irritated and starts jiggling his pecs, attracting all the Kokas to his location. Feeling the vibrations in their chest, the Gouda builders realize that it's Hansal, and while making their way to the location, Blog was curious as to what kind of man the MC was, but all the Gouda builders could tell him was that he is him. At the location, the MC used one-arm dumbbell press, sending one of the Kokas flying. Seeing this, the other 2 team up and performed a dive attack. Using military press, he lifted both of the Kokas and used BB push press on one and low flying lunge on the other. More Kokas appear, which cause our MC to enter the forbidden mode CrossFit. In an instant, he kills one of the Kokas and moves on to the others. Using kettlebell swing, jumping squats, and cable tricep extensions, he dealt with most of the Kokas. The others arrive and Blog is terrified at the sight. Continuing with the Solder, he realizes that he used too much of his legs muscles to get here, and he doesn't know how much longer he could keep his from. Carrying the emotions of everyone, he decides to end it all in one move, the bench press. His upper body grew to a monstrous size, and with the power of friendship, he took out all the Kokas. After the battle, they lay on the floor reminiscing about Gilord, thinking he died from the blast off, but it turned out he was just napping. Seeing that he is alright, the others jumped on him, giving him a big hug. Back at Werdo Castle, the 2 warriors report to the General and Lord of Duchy. After hearing the report, the Lord gets concerned. The General asks for Blog's location, and in a flashback, we see that the MC took a liking to Blog. Even though the 2 tried to stop him, they couldn't, and he asked Blog to become his gym bro. They explained to their master that Blog had been taken, begging her to save him. The Lord feels bad, but he doesn't want to lose people in doing something reckless. Hearing this, the General gets emotional and orders her men to prepare for battle. Back at the village, the MC introduces the newcomer and the first workout of their session. This is the first time Blog is hearing of a squat, so the MC pulls him aside and demonstrates the squat. His first attempt is a failure, but he receives tips from the MC, and after making the changes, Blog was able to complete a perfect squat. The MC decides to add weight, which almost squashed him, but he held on and completed the squat. Seeing this, they realize that Blog is a natural powerlifter, so he tells him that even though he won't get stronger than his friends, he will have the power to protect them. This caused Blog to cry. The next morning, the MC was carrying baby chickens. This raised a lot of concern, but he explains that even though it's okay to hunt the Kokas, they might go extinct. The ghouls were still concerned about having someone to defeat the Kokas if Hansal isn't around, but he tells them not to underestimate themselves. Later, while the group is working out, Blog is being helped by Gilord and his heavy blunt skill, but in the middle of the set, the skill intrusion was used, interrupting their workout. We see that the person who interrupted the workout was the general who asked Gillard if he was the one that kidnapped her student. Gillard explains that he isn't the leader of the ghouls anymore, but this wasn't the answer she was looking for. As she was about to strike him with her sword, the MC comes to the rescue, and after recognizing each other's strength, the general asked her subordinates if the MC was the person they were looking for. They answer saying that he is. Hearing this, she apologizes for interrupting their training, but she doesn't like the fact that her student was stolen from her. The MC hadn't realized that Blog already had a master, but he knows Blog enjoys exercising more than swordplay. Blog tells her that he is enjoying working out with the MC and apologizes for making her come all this way, but he doesn't plan on returning. Hearing this, she takes out her weapon and uses her sword skills, but the MC blocks it by flexing his muscles. This left her pride hurt because she could only put a scratch on his muscles, so she suggests that they compete, and since winning would mean they have superior martial arts, they would have the right to teach Blog. He explains to her that exercising isn't a martial art, it's the art of becoming Giga Chad. But she starts being hateful towards the gym rat, saying the big muscles would be useless in actual combat. This irritates the MC, but he is able to keep his composure. She continues with her hateful words, even going as far as saying working out is trash. After hearing this, his anger was pushed past its limit, and he entered chicken leg mode. While the two masters settled their dispute, the Gouda builders tried to guess who the winner will be, and since the MC has the size advantage, they guessed that he will be the winner. But Blog tells them not to guess off of size, since the general is one of the top 10 strongest people on the continent. Using Hawkeye, he analyzed her body, but get confused at the fact that she was able to put a scratch on his muscles with her muscle mass being so low. While explaining her teaching, she launches multiple attacks at him, and after the MC successfully blocks all of them, she stopped to ask him a question. He answers her question saying he doesn't care, and launches a counterattack, which she was able to dodge by jumping in the air, and while launching an attack, she tells him that his aura resembles that of a demon. Also, his body changing technique isn't something a human should be using. Using power leg press, he dodged the attack, telling her that with effort anything is possible. She continues saying that humans are only supposed to use Kai and Mana as she uses her Mountain of Swords and Forest of Sabers skill. The skill landed, and she continues to be hateful to the gym rat. You're always gonna have haters, guys. She gets ready to use the same skill again, but using front double biceps pose, he was able to block the attack, telling her that us gym rats will outwork anyone. Then he grew to a monstrous size. Now towering over her, he tells her it's his turn. We then see Laper and Hendred apologize to Blog, thinking that Blog left because they were pressuring him, but he explains that it wasn't because of pressure, and he was planning to return after learning from Hansol. Hearing this, the two get happy and ask to learn from the MC as well. Happy to help his friends, he asked Gulord for assistance. At the squat rack, he explains to them the muscle group the squat works on, and even though he was warned to not ego lift for safety reasons, he continues adding the weight. Back to the fight, we see the general struggling to block his attacks, while the MC just seems to be toying with her. She heard Laper and Hendrik grunting, and when she turned in their direction, she saw the two shirtless performing squats. After seeing this, she gets excited and calls for a timeout to ask about working out. The MC explained to her that her students were performing leg squats. After getting excited, she decided to include the MC's training into her students' training as well. Gym rats, we up. He deactivates chicken leg mode and asks her about her sudden change of heart. She tells him that it's because she was able to reach peak happiness, wink wink, from the hot sticky passion from her students working out. After hearing her reasoning, the two became united. We then see the two masters and their students traveling together. The MC becomes curious about her forearm muscles, which is very developed compared to her other muscle groups. She tells him that the reason her forearms are so developed is because she swings her sword every day for fun, and afterwards asking him why he would teach someone the ways of the gym rat for free. He tells her the more people that work out, the better, because that will cause them to try and find better ways to work out, also invent different forms of working out. His hope is that working out will spread to every corner of the world. After hearing his reasoning, she favors him even more. Later that night, while the group is setting up camp, the MC is informed by Blog that Wordo has discrimination toward different species, magic, and non-believers. Only humans, especially swordsmen, aren't discriminated against. Blog is worried that Gouda builders will face discrimination at Wordo Castle, but the MC's attention was directed somewhere else. He makes his way to the horse feed, and after observing it, he realized that it's the legendary oatmeal. Seeing his actions, the human knights were disgusted. Hearing the hate, Gulord schooled them by mixing their plain rice with his recipe. After tasting the food, the knights fell in love with the taste, stopping their hate, and the three became friends. We then see the MC asking the general for access to a supply of grains as payment for teaching them the ways days of working out, she thought he wanted it to feed horses, but he explained to her that it's for him and the Gouda builders to eat. She agreed to provide him with a supply of the legendary oats, but feels a little bad about giving him animal food as payment for such a great way of life, and even the ghouls agreed. These fools don't know the value of oats. The MC starts getting irritated that they would diminish the value of oats to nothing more than animal feed. She agrees with the worried Gouda builders, telling him that what they were saying is true, and that she could provide better things for them like clothes and other things. Who needs clothes when you have a great physique? The ghouls cut in as well, saying that since they have more than enough chicken breast, the animal food isn't needed. After hearing his own students' hate of the legendary oats, he couldn't take it any longer and explained to them the greatness of oats. Afterwards, he asked them if they still think there is a better favor they could ask for. The general and her knights were very confused, but the ghouls were very pumped at the discovery of a new way to improve their muscles. Hearing their excitement about eating oats, the knight decided not to fall behind the ghouls and chose to eat the oats as well. But after eating a mouthful, they all spat it out in disgust, all except Blog, who is fond of the texture and taste of oats. A man of culture is born. Even though the general doesn't understand his reasoning, she agrees to get them a supply of oats. In the morning, the group entered the castle and got their taste of the discrimination Blog was talking about. The ghouls became uncomfortable from the stares they received from the citizens, but the MC tells them to maintain their posture because the citizens are staring at their nice muscular bodies. After hearing the MC's words, the ghouls put on a muscle flexing show for the people to see while making their way to the Lord's castle. At the castle, the Lord is told that his men will be taught how to work out in exchange for the legendary oatmeal, and since it was a request from his general, he agrees, but asks them to leave as soon as they are done with their teachings. The Lord acts sort of friendly towards the MC, but in reality he was irritated by his presence. He decided to use this opportunity to drag the general's popularity down since she was becoming too popular with the citizens. At the training ground, the knight's training is stopped by the general, who informs them that Hansol will be teaching them today. The MC introduced himself, but since he didn't like the way they were staring at him, he told them to drop to a push-up position. All the knights got into position except one, who doesn't approve to being taught by a monster. The instructor of the group tells him to get in position since it was a direct order from the general. The knight then asks him if he thinks Hansol is on the same level of strength as their general. Taking the instructor's silent as an answer, the knight tells the other knights to stand up, and while listing the things wrong with them, learning from the monster, the MC and the knight get ready to fight. But Gilord steps in, stopping the MC, saving the knight a trip to his creator. Gilord suggests that Blog teach them since he is human, and to determine the better training method, each party will send out a member to spar. Both sides agreed to the agreement, and the trash-talking knight stepped up for the human side, and a Gouda builder stepped up for the ghouls. In his head, he is confident that he is winning since he isn't actually a trainee, but a mercenary from the Tuchula Mercenary Corps hired by the Count. The mercenary launched an attack at the Gouda builders, but using one-arm dumbbell press, he is sent flying after one hit. They checked up on the mercenary, and after seeing some movements, they deduced that he is still alive, and the MC turned his attention to the ghoul, telling him that he shouldn't have been so harsh. The ghoul apologized, but he tells him that it's okay. Since they lost, the MC asked the knights to obey him now, but while they were distracted, the mercenary tries a sneak attack that failed thanks to Gilord, who used his heavy blunt skill. Taking advantage of this, the MC gives him a love tap that sends the mercenary blasting off again, but this time for good. In that moment, the general arrives at the training grounds to check on the MC, but she sees her knights not listening to her orders and instead hating on the MC and the ghouls. She asked her instructor for an explanation of what's going on. The instructor tells her that they proposed a duel since some of the knights weren't following orders, but even though they lost, they are accusing the monsters and the MC for using magic. So to solve the problem, she asked the MC, and after asking the MC if it was true, which it wasn't, she turned to the instructor. While the instructor was trying to make up an excuse, the lord of the castle arrives, asking his general if she would believe the words of the monsters, and if she is on their side or the monster's side. Using the injured mercenary to his advantage, he exiles the general for 2 years, but the trainees beg him to withdraw that order, and that they should just kill the monsters instead, like they could. She apologized to the MC, who was using the time that they were arguing to work out. Man is taking no breaks. She asked the Lord if they could at least keep their promise and allow the monsters and the MC to stay for 3 months. The Lord agrees to keep his promise. With a hidden agenda, she orders the soldiers to follow the Lord's orders and thanks him, saying she will use this as time to rest. Later that night, we see the mercenary, who is happy because if he keeps doing this kind of work, he will be able to open a flower shop pulling out a picture of his daughter saying he will come home soon. Back at his home village, his house is burning, and the villagers have turned into zombie-like monsters. We then see 3 new enemies, enjoying the sight of their burning home. In the morning at the village, the trainees say goodbye to their masters. After saying their goodbye, she asks Blog why he is following her. He tells her that he doesn't have any training, so he asked the MC if he could accompany her, to which he was allowed to, and she also lets him join her on her journey. Enjoying the changes in his voice, she tells him if he becomes a little bit braver, she will allow him to marry her. But since Blog is in his 20s and she is around the age of 60, he declines. After a few workout sessions with the MC, Blog has become Giga Chad. The others hold her back while telling him to run away. We then see Gouda builders hunting some slimes, and after they are done, they make their way to the MC, hoping he has a new exercise for them. As they were making their way back, they ran into Blog and the general, who asked them what they were doing with slimes. But since the Gouda builders aren't very good at explaining things, they followed them to the MC and asked him what he plans on doing with the slimes. He tells her that powerlifting and bodybuilding wouldn't be efficient for the trainees since they resemble athletes, so he plans on using the slimes to make equipment for them. Since she was confused on what kind of training he was talking about, he asked one of the Gouda builders for a slime and showed her the process of making a training band, while telling her the different kinds of exercises you can do with the training band. She thanks him because without his knowledge, she has been watching him. She thought he was only acting like he was obsessed with the gym to get close to the humans. But now she sees that it's not just an act and that maybe he can bring some changes to Wordo Duchy. Hearing this, he takes off his shirt and with the Gouda builders he starts posing, but this wasn't the change she was talking about, showing him the trainees who has arrived to receive the MC's training. After promising to take care of the trainees, he acquired new gym bros. But meanwhile, we see the Lord of Wordo Castle investigating the fire that was set in the mercenaries' hometown. He orders his men to be careful because since they are facing zombies, whoever is bitten will be turned into a zombie, then ordering them to charge. The battle ensued, and the enemies we saw previously want to make a move but are scared that the general, whose name is Roins, will get involved. A dog starts running and barking, so one of them kicks it. After kicking it, he tells it to be patient since the zombies are just props. We then see the MC talking to the night trainees, telling them that humans are limited by stamina, that is why we only train the muscles we need. Hearing this, the instructor gave the order for the trainees to get ready for chest day, but the MC stopped them, telling them that instead of chest day they will do the forbidden workout CrossFit. Worse than leg day, but maybe it's just me. CrossFit is something foreign to the instructor, as it should be, since this is something the trainees have never done. He explained to them what doing CrossFit means, and since the Gouda builders and the trainees weren't comfortable with each other yet, he concluded that doing CrossFit would be the best way for them to work out, while also getting comfortable with each other. He split them into groups, getting them hyped. While the group was working out, we see the knights and the lord fighting the zombies. This repeated for a while with the siren going off. But after hearing the siren for the 7th time, he asked the instructor for the purpose of the siren and why it's going off. The instructor explained that since the feudal lord has been taking care of the zombies that have been popping up personally, the sirens serve as a call for backup. But it seems he doesn't care at all. We then see the feudal lord trying to give his knight one of Naruto's powerful speeches, telling them that the base of the enemies is right in front of them, and to save their country they must annihilate the enemy's base. After receiving the order, the knights charged in, continuing to slay the zombies, and as the battle raged on, one of the soldiers expressed his concern about them advancing too far into the enemy's territory. But the feudal lord tells him it's fine since zombies don't have intelligence, they wouldn't be able to use them advancing to their advantage, pointing out his soldiers who are pushing through and motivating them to keep pushing forward. But he doesn't know that he is falling right into the enemy's trap. We then see Ben getting attacked by some knights, and while deleting some out of existence, he tutors the others on the weapons they should be using in war. It seems that the feudal lord and Ben knew each other in the past because he called out his name while trying to strike him, but Ben easily blocked his attack, telling him that he has gotten old. The feudal lord is confused how his appearance hasn't changed after such a long time, and knowing that Ben doesn't train his energy like General Rion does to keep herself looking younger, he questions him. Ben tells him that he is correct, and even though he didn't train his energy the way General Rion does, he has done some research, injecting himself with the juice. Seeing his monstrous size, the lord asked him in fear if he had experimented on other humans, but Ben seems to have become unstable after injecting himself. So before the other zombies come to help him, the feudal lord decided that it's best to kill Ben. Using his combat skills, he tries sending Ben to hell, but Ben on the juice is built different. With a swipe of his hand, he sent the feudal lord flying. After taking that hit, he sits to reflect on his actions, but Ben continued his roid rage as he charges at him, just barely missing. After successfully dodging the attack, the lord thought to himself about his near-death experience. But the roid-raging Ben didn't give him a minute to rest as he continuously attacked him, doing his best to block and dodge the attacks. The lord looked for an opening to counter. The lord tried using another combat skill, but Ben hit him, canceling the skill, and in that moment he realized that Ben is way more powerful than he is. He unwillingly took Ben's attack, which sent him flying and bouncing around like a basketball. While sitting there, he tries to think of an explanation of how Ben was able to get so strong in that short period of time. As Ben approached him, he explained how he is thinking 4 parallel universes ahead of the Lord, telling him that his strength is because of the development in civilization. Yeah, guys, he's just using creatine. Because the Lord has solely focused on swordsmanship, his country has grown weak. Trying to defend himself, he brings up General Rion's strength, but Ben tells him that he should consider the average knight, pointing out the Lord's army that is getting destroyed. Continuing on, Ben tells him just because General Rion is strong, that doesn't mean every soldier will be strong too. But the Lord still found it hard to believe that his knights are at the mercy of the zombies. Seeing that the feudal lord is not trying to take accountability for his actions, Ben decides to kill him. As Ben was about to end the feudal lord's life, his attack was interrupted by one of the knight's skills, who tells his lord to run away. But he didn't need to say it twice, as the lord already used that moment to run away. Seeing this, Ben couldn't contain his laughter as he burst out laughing. But the knight took this as an opportunity to take charge of the army, ordering them to retreat and plan for the future with the Lord. Ben didn't let this go on for long as he ended his life with a single hit. While the knights ran away, one of the 3 enemies asked Ben if they should chase after them. But Ben told him it wasn't necessary since they already knew where the knights were heading, and since the Lord is not very smart, he will gather his army in one place in order to kill them. But they plan on using this to their advantage. On the ride back, the Lord thinks really hard on how he is going to be able to beat the 3 of them. He calls for a report, and one of his knights named Rumi reported that out of the 400 soldiers, only 26 remain. The rest are injured, dead, or infected. In his head, he calculated that he only had 100 soldiers at the castle, so he complained about winning a war with only 126 soldiers. Rumi suggests that they call back General Rion to help, but by the time she would be back, the war would already be over, so instead she suggests they ask the Giga Chad MC and his group for help. The Lord is happy to find a plan and decides to ask the MC for help. 3 days later, the feudal lord entered the training grounds. After arriving at his castle, he entered the training grounds trying to give out orders to the MC and the Gouda builders, telling them to protect his castle from the zombie horde approaching them, also saying that the MC would gain the privilege of citizenship in Werdo Castle, and that this would also be the perfect time for him and the Gouda builders to show off how effective working out is in combat. After hearing this, the MC tells the ghouls to do front bicep pose, informing him that they don't need to fight a battle to show off their muscles. The feudal lord tried using his power as the ruler of the castle to order them around, but the MC angrily cuts him off, saying if they get injured or killed, they wouldn't be able to work out, and asked him if he is ready to take responsibility for that. Feeling that his life is in danger, he apologizes. After leaving the training ground, he orders the Knight Rumi to call for General Ox. Even though General Ox's personality is bad, they don't have a choice since the MC isn't willing to help them. He also tells her to gather all the soldiers at the front of the castle gates as a final stand against the zombies. Later, we see that the zombies have made their way to the castle gates, and we also see that General Ox is a nicely bearded man who tries to negotiate with the zombies' leader. The 4 leaders of the zombie army stepped up, and it seems that the feudal lord knows 2 of the leaders. Ben asks why he asked them to step forward, and Ox tells him since it would be a waste of time for both sides if they tried to climb over the castle wall, he suggests that they have a one-on-one battle, to which Ben happily accepted. After Ben accepts, Ox gets really happy and jumps down from the castle gates, asking for one of them to step up. Ben stepped back, allowing for the big giant gorilla-looking zombie to step up. Seeing that the zombie is a big boy, Ox decides to test if it is also skilled in combat, as he launched himself crazily at the zombie. But all of his attacks were blocked, and the zombie was able to find a chance to counter, so it spat at Ox, revealing that the zombie was able to spit acid. The both of them stopped fighting for a second, so General Ox asked how the zombie was so strong. but feeling danger the zombie ran away. This caused the general to chase after, but it seemed that this was all part of the zombie's plan as he was hit with a bone. This allowed the big zombie to land a hit on him. Ben then juiced himself up and told him that he accepted the duel to get rid of the only variable he couldn't control. Not being able to take getting jumped by the leaders anymore, he asked them to spare his life, so Ben kindly ordered the big zombie, whose name is Frank, to toss him into the zombie horde, turning the bearded general into a zombie. Since they have no one left to defend them, Ben gave the feudal lord an offer to surrender the castle and his life will be spared, but he refused. After refusing Ben's kind offer, the zombie army was ordered to attack the castle. To defend against the zombie horde, the Lord ordered the soldiers to fire their arrows, but since they are only skilled in swordsmanship, they didn't know how to fire the arrows. The Night Roomie asked him for his next order, but he couldn't think of anything and runs away from the battlefield. Bet he is regretting sending General Rion away now. While running away, we see that in the past he has ran away just like he is doing now, and he was known as a coward. While making his way to the training grounds, he admits to himself about being cowardly. And after arriving at the training grounds, he apologized for looking down on the MC and for allowing discrimination against him and the Gouda builders to grow. Willing to give up his life, he begged the MC to at least save the people of the castle. The MC tells him that he doesn't need his life, but the Lord needs to come for personal training. The instructor tried to get the trainees to join in the fight, but because their big 3 isn't over 400 kilograms, they couldn't join in on the battle. And as the MC and the Gouda builders made their way out of the training grounds, the Lord couldn't help but admire his back muscles. We see that even while going to the battlefield, their grind doesn't stop, because they decided to sprint for 1 minute and 30 seconds, with Gillord being the only one not keeping up. Getting closer to the castle gates, they saved a mother and child, and after seeing the cool MC and Gouda boaters, the child wanted to be strong like them too, so the mom told him that she would ask about their training method after the war. At the gate, Gillord was able to catch up to the group, and he told the MC about the zombies. After getting the explanation, he decided to push the zombies out of the castle gates using his chest muscles. At first, Gillord hesitated, but since it's the MC, he just agreed to follow his plan. To help the MC, Gillord asked to lead the Gouda builders, which the MC allowed. After being promoted, Gillord split the Gouda builders into 5 groups. Group 1 and 2 are to go around the village and protect the villagers. Group 3 and 4 are to help the knights on the castle wall fight the zombies. And Group 5, well, Group 5 was supposed to help the MC, but he was able to push them out of the gates using his chest muscles. The feudal lord arrived at the castle wall begging them to close the gate to protect the villagers inside, but the gate was already broken. But fear not, Blog and some Gouda builders came carrying a big-ass kettlebell. Seeing this made the MC happy though, because his students are performing lunges with proper form and heavy weight. But soon after, the Gouda boaters fainted, leaving Blog to carry the kettlebell by himself, and as he was about to give in to the pressure of the kettlebell, Gillord used his skill to help him with the weight. And together with Group 5, they were able to seal off the castle wall, so Gillord ordered them to take a rest break, and told all the other groups except 1 and 2 to help the MC push the zombies back. While they were pushing the zombies back, one of the ghouls got bitten by a zombie, and he started pretending to be turning, but another ghoul told him to stop. Since they are already undead, they can't be affected. The Gouda boaters are really trolling the knights. The zombies went after the MC, but he deleted them after they bit his muscles. Observing from far away, Ben is confused that the ghouls would be helping the humans, and he orders all the zombies to bite the MC. A dog zombie and the big gorilla zombie charged to attack the MC, but Laper and Hindred intercepted them. The feudal lord, safe at the castle wall, pointed to Ben and a female zombie, asking the MC to go and deal with them, but he was unable to see in the direction the lord was pointing at. And after the feudal lord gave him directions, he asked the Gouda builders to cover him, using reverse peck deck fly over and over again to make his way through the zombie horde. After witnessing his zombie horde getting destroyed by a troll, he is disappointed that they are getting destroyed so easily, and he decides to join in on the battle. The two had a standoff, but after Ben juiced himself up, the MC charged at him. We then see Ben, who mistook the MC for a monster, asking him why he is helping the humans. But while being overpowered by the MC, he is asked if he is the one bothering the future gym bros. After being pinned to the ground, he tries to fight back by hitting the MC, but his hits didn't affect him at all. Since Ben had his turn, the MC wanted his turn too. Using Mountain Climber, he drags Ben across the floor of the forest. A female zombie who notices that Ben is getting destroyed transforms into a robotic spider thing, and together with the dog zombie, they started making their way to Ben's location to help, but are stopped by General Rion's niece Lynn. Robotic Spider Lady ordered the dog zombie to go and help Ben, while she faces off against the general's niece, and after the dog zombie left, the two faced off. We then see Gillord and the Gutabuilders slingshotting a rock into the sky, and with his skill Gillord caused the rock to break, which rained down on the zombies like a meteor shower. After shooting the rock at the zombies, he orders the Gutabuilders to reload the slingshot and gave out the orders that Group 1 should check if there are any zombies left in the village. Group 2 is to fix the cracks in the gate. Finally, Group 3 and 4 are to start fighting the zombies instead of pushing them with their chest muscles. Up on the castle wall, the feudal lord is amazed by Gillord's ability to strategize and compares him to a monster strategist who sided with the humans in the past. Back at the battle between the MC and Ben, we see that Ben is still being dragged on the floor. He tired attacking the MC, but none of his attacks were effective against the MC. At this point, I just feel bad for him. The dog, whose name is Birdomen, used the skill Bonado, which combined necromancy with its wind attribute, and it said that this skill can easily take the head of someone who isn't wearing a helmet. But to the MC, it felt like getting a massage. The doggo gets sad because its attack did nothing to the MC, but Ben thanks it, and while injecting himself even more, he tells the MC that what's about to happen next is his fault. The MC isn't worried though, because he believes that there is nothing that can escape his grip strength. Ben pulls out his Uno reverse card and grabs the MC by the throat. Looking down at Ben's neck, the MC realizes that it has gotten so thick he couldn't grip it. Using this, Ben counters and sends the MC flying into the air. After the MC landed back on the ground, Ben, who is now bouncing around like a tennis ball, is disappointed because he wanted to use his form against the general, but had to use it against the MC. Even though it wasn't part of the plan, he gets cocky and brags about his speed in that form. Using his knowledge of muscles, the MC concluded that the best course of action is to endure the attacks until Ben runs out of energy or tires out. But the MC didn't take into account that Ben is using roids. Ben continues his attack pattern of hitting and running, but the MC was able to counter one of Ben's attacks by using bench pressing, and after Ben backs off, he starts wondering why it's taking Ben's muscles so long to get tired. We then see Leper and Hendard struggling against the giant gorilla-looking zombie, and after getting told he was weak, Leper tries to use the power of friendship. But the power of friendship failed him because as he used his skill, the zombie sent him flying. After seeing his friend getting slapped, Hendard charged at the zombie angrily and tried to strike it with his skill, but because he was too slow, the zombie was able to dodge, leaving the unconscious Leper to be the target of the skill. Using all his might, he was able to stop the skill from hitting Leper, but since he was distracted, the gorilla zombie used this moment to move in his blind spot, and as he was about to get hit, the MC came flying out of nowhere, saving him. After praising him, the MC went back to his fight with Ben. Man came out of nowhere, wrecked the zombie, and left like it was nothing. On the outskirts of Werdo Castle, a knight is hastily running and calling for General Rion. After the knight kicked down her door, the general asked if he was there to do nighttime activities with her, but he tells her that now isn't the time to be making jokes because Werdo Castle is being attacked by zombies. Someone help this general. She tells him that the army should be able to handle zombies. The knight then tells her they would be able to if the zombies weren't being led by Ben. After hearing that Ben is behind the zombies, she starts laughing, which confuses the knight. But she tells him that she feels bad for him because the castle is being protected by the MC and her niece, who is the future strongest person in the continent. We then see that in the past, during the Dark Ages, elves were treated as slaves because they were weak. But then one day a human physician named Chostyakbulades showed them a new path, and that General Rion's niece has spent some time in the forest with those elves and made the elf Lade exercise her own. Using this exercise, she dodges Spider Lady by jumping in the air, but Spider Lady used the fact that she couldn't dodge in air to try and attack her. Using smooth flow, she was able to stand on the tip of Spider Lady's blade and tells her that she is no match for her. Spider Lady didn't give up though, and she used her other blades to attack, but using circumduction, the general's niece was easily able to block Spider Lady's attacks. She was having such an easy time blocking her attacks, she started giving her tip to help improve her swordsmanship. This irritates her, so she launched herself at Lin. But using her skill powerhouse, Lin was able to counter. Because of her multiple arms, Spider Lady became unbalanced, and Lin decided to end things and used her skill hyperextension. We then see the MC, who is surprised that Ben still has energy, and Ben, who is mad because he isn't able to overpower the MC. Getting frustrated, Ben asks him when he is going to give up, but the MC responds saying that he should be the one asking that question. While jumping around and hitting the MC, Ben explains that with his form he has the power of an elder dragon, and that form was meant to fight General Ryan, the MC blocked his attack and tells him it doesn't matter because he exercises more than him. Ben, feeling the side effects from the roids, backs off to try and inject himself again. Seeing that Ben backed off, the MC was expecting him to change forms again, but as he was approaching him, Ben's body began to break down, and all the roid juice came spilling out of his body. It's been exposed, guys, it's not creatine. After losing his power, he begs the MC to stop the fighting, but the MC, who is mad because he couldn't get his lifts and wasn't going to let him go so easily, he continues begging, saying that he started the war to try and revive someone named Elise, who died in the past. He takes out his most powerful roid juice and injects himself, but as he was transforming, he sees Spider Lady's body parts flying in the air, and it turned out she was Elise, the person he was trying to revive. We then see a memory from the past of Werdo Castle 32 years ago. We see the feudal lord training and Ben reading a book. Ben asked him if he knows why the people of the castle have so little mana, but Lord Werdo doesn't seem to care. After feeling bad, he asked Ben to explain. Ben tells him that mana is something that is affected by emotions, but because of all the laws, the people of the castle can't express their emotions, and that's why the people have so little mana. Werdo then tells him that the castle doesn't need magic because they can grow their own strength through swordsmanship, and he threw a sword at him to request a duel. After a long battle, Lord Werdo came out as the winner with a record of 123 wins for him and 43 wins for Ben. We then see General Ryan, who is concerned about Ben, so she asked him if something is wrong, because to her he doesn't seem to be enjoying swordsmanship, which he wasn't. But Ryan tells him that he isn't enjoying it because he hasn't reached a certain level yet, and pointed to Werdo. But even though young feudal lord didn't say it out loud, he too wasn't enjoying swordsmanship training either. From a distance they hear someone insulting them, and after General Ryan introduced Elise, the three started fighting, and Elise easily overpowered the two young men. After getting beaten up, the two of them fell in love with Elise, but since Ben was the first one to say it out loud, Werdo had to keep his emotions hidden. After hearing that his friend has the same love interest as him, Werdo tried to discourage him by saying Elise would only go for someone stronger than her. Damn El Homie. But Ben understands the fact that he is weaker than Elise, so he decides to train hard every day, and slowly he started catching up to Werdo in terms of wins, until finally he was one win ahead of Werdo. After getting defeated, Werdo left the training grounds for the day, and back at the castle we see that Werdo is being pressured by his dad, Leonard Werdo. After getting a drink thrown at him, he apologizes for being a weak son and went outside to sit in the rain. Elise finds him, and to be nice, she took him on a date. But while on the date, Werdo thought that he might have a chance of bagging this baddie. The next day, while at the training ground, Werdo hears the trainees talking about Ben being rejected by Elise, so he decided to take this chance to confess his love. Didn't even check up on his friend. He made his way to her home, but while looking through the window, he sees Ben and Elise doing nighttime activities in the morning, which is very naughty. We then see that the night before, after Ben had confessed his love and had been rejected, she showed him her magic body, which is the reason she rejected him, because if were to get caught one day, she wouldn't want him involved. The man in love didn't care, and since he studied magic, he promised to protect her. After witnessing his friend and the girl he is in love with doing the deed, Werdo's life went on a downward spiral. But Ben and Elise seemed to be living happily, and even got a dog. That is until one day she fell down due to the mana being too much for her body to handle, but she was fine shortly after, and even though she told him that she was fine, this gave Ben enough motivation to lock himself in his lab and try to find a cure for Elise. We then see a drunken Werdo approaching Elise and asking her if she likes him, but she tells him that she doesn't see him that way, and while showing him her mana, she asked him if he could love her, even though if they were together he would be a criminal under his father's laws. The coward runs away, not being able to face her. The next day we see the citizens rioting about a drought, and to escape the citizens' rage, Werdo's father decided to put the blame on Elise and thanks him for telling him about Elise's mana use. Werdo tried to protect Elise, but he is thrown in prison, and later that night he escapes prison to help, but gets scared after hearing that the citizens would try to kill him if he tries helping Elise, so he runs away again. Wow, what a coward. Later Ben sees Elise's body, and after going on a rampage, he sits holding the dead Elise in his arms. In the present, the Ben is trying to retrieve the robotic Elise's body parts, but the MC wouldn't allow that. Using one-arm dumbbell press, he sends Ben flying. Ben tells him to let him go, but after pinning him to the ground, the MC used cable pushdowns until Ben was finished. But using Bonato, Doggo was able to rescue his family. We then see the feudal lord begging for them to be finished off, and General Rion's niece refused his request and started making her way towards him to kill him. After she got past multiple knights, she caught up to the running lord, but as she was about to strike him, the MC grabbed her by the foot, and using cable pullover, he was able to defeat the future #1 strongest. Later that day, Lin woke up confused, but a boy at the side of her bed explained the situation to her, so she asked to be brought to the Lord's location. And when she arrived, she was surprised to see the Lord doing Santa Claus bear walks, as the MC called them. After hearing the feudal lord asking to be killed, the system granted him multiple skills. Since the Lord is asking to be killed, the MC took it that he was enjoying working out a lot, and his passive skill psychopathic trainer activated. The scared feudal lord turned to Lin to end his suffering, but she seems to be enjoying the situation. Back at the castle, a meeting was being held, and a man with a mustache was explaining everything that had happened during the war. Because of their bravery, Laper and Hindered were promoted. The Gouda builders were put in charge of the new bodybuilding sword troop, and he thanked the MC for helping them, but the MC got up and approached him, then destroyed the chair he was sitting on, telling him that it's all for extra personal training, and revealing that even the Gouda builders are doing it too. Since he is doing personal training, he asked for the meeting to be summarized quickly, and the topic of what to do with General Rion's niece quickly came up. She was pardoned for her crimes, but lost her citizenship to Werdo Castle, and to repent the feudal lord begged her to take his life, but she enjoyed his pain way too much and refused. After refusing, he came clean about not being fit to rule and begged to be judged for his crimes, but the MC thought that meant wanted to focus on working out more, which made him very happy. The other members of the council thought this would be a good time for them to take over the country. The MC was so touched by the feudal lord that he volunteered his time to train the future lord of the castle. After hearing this, the others were very happy to not be the feudal lord. Continuing on with the meeting, the feudal lord promised to make gym equipment needed for working out, but the gym equipment technology was too advanced for Werdo Castle. So he told the MC about the spirit of the land behemoths who might be able to make the gym equipment the MC required. But no one knows where the spirit is. Luckily though, since Lin lived with the elves, she happened to be close with the spirits. The MC asked her to take him to the spirits, to which she agreed if the MC would help her get her revenge. Hearing this, the feudal lord thought she meant taking her revenge on him, so he tells her that she can kill him anytime. But instead of him, she wanted to get revenge on a group of black wizards called the Illuminati that ruined her family. We then see Ben talking to two unknown individuals, and after his plea for one more chance failed, he injected his arm and tried to attack them, but they disappeared. We then see them running away while discussing Ben's betrayal and who will get his experiment diary. Out of nowhere, we see General Rion, who claims the diary for herself and uses the combat skill sword for bugs, successfully cutting one of the enemy's head off and enraging the other. The enraged enemy, thinking he was from the Uchiha clan, summoned his Susanoo and attacked the general, but using the same combat skill from earlier, the general was able to wipe him out with ease. We then see the feudal lord, who is cutting away at grass with his sword, and Lin telling him to stop because the spirits don't like the destruction of nature, but he tells her that he is doing it to make way for the MC. After telling the feudal lord to stop and follow behind while doing lunges, he asked Lin if they were heading the right way since it felt like they had been going around in circles. She tells him to be patient, and after walking for a while longer, she tells him that they had arrived. After observing the ground, the MC also found it to be the perfect place to do jumping squats, so while she was doing her yoga breathing, he told the Gouda builders and the feudal lord to perform 20 jumping squats. The pathway to the spirits opened up, but the MC and the Gouda builders were too focused on their squat jumps. And after they finished their 20 squat jumps, he told them to do 40 more, but since he wasn't happy with the way they responded, he told them to do 60 instead. And before they could start, he is dragged into the spirit pathway by Lin. After a few pointers from Lin on how to travel in the spirit realm, they arrived at the motherland Gaia, the realm of the spirits, but before they could enjoy the view, their fly potion ran out, and they fell, landing on sand. However, the MC was able to land on his feet, but while enjoying the new training environment, giant golems attacked them. The MC was able to stop the golem's fist, but the other golems joined in and attacked him as well. Guys, I think the MC is into some weird things, because while getting hit, he screamed out loud saying he loves the progressive overload. After getting buried in the sand, his body grew incredibly big. Pause, and he asked Gillord to increase the weight. After Gillord used his heavy blunt skill, the MC started performing leg squats. Seeing this, Lin asked the Gouda builders what the MC was doing, and they told her that today is the MC's leg day. This confused her even more, so Blob jumped in and explained that leg day is the day you train your legs. In that moment, Behemoth, the owner of the spirit realm, speaks to them asking why they had come to the spirit realm. But the MC who just finished doing his 15 reps of squats ignored him and made his way to the water. After drinking the water, he explained how drinking water is very important to your muscle growth, which caused the other gym rats to follow in his footsteps and drink the water. After drinking their fill of the water, they were ready to talk to the owner of the spirit realm, but it was too angry at their behavior and decided that they weren't worth talking to. After trapping them in a maze, the owner of the spirit realm explained that without help from spirits, they wouldn't be able to exit the maze, and even if they were able to move through the maze, there are golems waiting for them at the center. After hearing this, Lynn tried using her bunny hops to jump over the wall, but the gravity was too strong, and after landing back on the ground, she notices the Gouda builders and the MC using their workouts to break through the walls of the maze. After the MC broke through the center of one of the maze walls, Blog told the Gouda builders to use the hole in the wall to finish breaking it down. They used this method until they made their way to the golems, which were easily taken care of by Lynn and the Gouda builders. We then see that they have made their way into the cave where Behemoth lives, but all they could find was a rope connected to a machine unknown to them. After observing the rope some more, the MC realized that the rope is connected to a lat pull-down machine. Seeing the gym equipment, the MC gets very emotional and starts crying. But the Gouda builders couldn't understand what was so great about the machine, so the MC explained that the machine helps those who don't have a partner in the gym train their back muscles, and since it would be better to show them, he decides to demonstrate. While he was demonstrating, the Gouda builders used the opportunity to enter the entrance that opened when the MC was using the machine. After the MC was done with his demonstration, they held the entrance open with the help of Gilord's skill so he can enter. Inside the machine, we see that it is being run by cute little animals, so Lynn tried to touch them, but the MC stopped her, telling her that they should get permission before they touch anything. And they hear a voice agreeing with the MC, and afterwards it introduced itself as Behemoth the Spirit King. Seeing Behemoth, the feudal lord, and Gilord was a little disappointed because he was in the same physical shape as him, and after shouting insults at them for being rude, the Spirit King was hit in the head. The spirit who hit the chubby wolf-looking thing introduced itself as the real Behemoth and told the MC's party not to treat the spirits as animals since they are all high-class spirits. Continuing on, Behemoth asks them why they have come to the spirit realm, and the MC tells her that they came to ask her to make some gym equipment for them. She tells him that with the right material and enough time they can make anything, and before the MC could respond, the feudal lord cuts in, saying he should be the one making the deals, and formally introduces himself. After asking her what she would want in return from them if she was to make them the gym equipment, she tells him that since she doesn't want anything from the human realm, they could instead help her take care of a person who has been polluting the land recently. We then see that she had sent middle-class spirits to take care of this person, but she lost contact with them. So if they are able to kill him and purify the land, then she will help them. They agreed and asked her for a guide, so she sent out the fake Behemoth to guide them. He tries to protest but gets scolded. Then we see General Rian, who is running away from multiple enemies. After running for a while, she turned around and attacked them instead, killing multiple in the process, and after using her skill, she wiped out the cult members. Since it would be a waste to leave after she had come this far in enemy territory, she decided to teach her old apprentice a lesson. We then see the fake Behemoth disrupting the MC's workout, telling him that he can read the memory of the land by eating its minerals. And while eating the rock, he makes an excited face, so the party thought it found a lead, but it was just him enjoying the taste of the rock. But the fake Behemoth was joking. He wasn't able to see memories from the rock since it wasn't old enough, and asked them to bring him better ones. The Gouda builders found rocks that looked promising, but as they were about to pick it up, they were stopped by the MC, who tells them to do a one-arm dumbbell press or any workout while picking up the rocks. And instead of giving the fake Behemoth the rocks, the party used it instead to work out. Thinking that the party had forgotten the task he had given them, he eats the final pieces of the rock he had, and this triggered a memory, and in this memory we see a mosquito and frog-looking fella having a discussion. But while discussing, the mosquito fella tasted and drank the drink that was given to him. Afterwards he realized that it had been poisoned. Toadman denied it, saying it was just the taste of toad alcohol. But the mosquito dude jumped at him, asking why he would make fun of the higher-up's generosity, and before he could do anything, he started feeling the effects of the alcohol. While struggling to get his footing, the toad tells him that he doesn't have a problem with joining his group, but he doesn't like the conditions they would put him in, and orders his men to force the mosquito dude to drink more of the toad alcohol. After the mosquito dude was drunk, he told him that he looked like he was ready to start talking business. Thanks for watching, and make sure you hit that like button.